to talk to you guys about something that nobody ever really taught me. When I first got in the trade, work was just work, and there was a lot of work in California. You know, there's a lot of construction and service, so I always had work from the earliest days of being an apprentice. And I never really did not have work. So if I was in between jobs through my apprenticeship, you know, if one company had to let me go, you know, I had a job the very next day or the next week. And so it was never really a problem. But I have heard over the years that I've had the channel from guys that don't like who they're working for. They're either their journeyman or their boss or the owner of the company is a knucklehead, and you know, but I think in every trade they kind of have that. But for some reason, in the electrical trade, there's a lot of guys, journeymen, that don't like to see their apprentices do well or learn more or do better. And I don't really know where that comes from, but those guys with that type of attitude who kind of climb the ladder, whether they become supervisors or foremen, managers, or contractors themselves, they don't want to help the younger guys grow, or it's like they're afraid of, you know, an apprentice becoming a good journeyman. And I don't know if it's because they're afraid of their own job or they feel threatened by someone that does better than them. But, you know, I got kids, and I want my kids to do better in life than I have done. And, you know, I'd like them to stand on my shoulders and, you know, reach higher than I have or I could have. And the same goes with, you know, any apprentices. You know, part of the reason why I'm on social media, YouTube and Instagram, is, you know, to help not only non-electricians understand, you know, the electrical trade, but to help apprentices kind of navigate the career in certain aspects of the career. So, particularly with the economy right now, it's interesting because there's a lot of guys that are working, and there's a lot of work, and then there's some guys in other parts of the country where work is slow, and it doesn't need to be, because there's a demand for electrical work. There always will be. It's not one of those careers that you can export to another country and have cheap labor replace it. There's always going to be electrical work. You know, it'll change a little bit. In fact, with technology, it'll change quite a bit. But I just wanted to give you guys some thoughts on how to find the best job, or how to find the best person to work for, if you're flexible. And if you're not flexible and you're comfortable, and if you don't like your job, then, you know, it's got to suffer, I guess. But there is good work out there. There are good people out there. There are good people to work for. And there's good companies out there. So, you know, and I think a lot of the smaller shops have a challenge. That's not to say there's small shops that are not good shops to work for, but the larger shops, kind of the medium and large shops, have figured it out, you know. So those that own those companies have figured out what their strengths and weaknesses are, and replaced their own weaknesses with managers that have strengths that they don't have. I have 7 or 8 points here on things you can do to change it's changing your perspective. It's not so much stuff that you're going to do on the job, although you should always do the best job that you can. But how to get the best job if you're looking. So first you got to realize that there is good work out there. You know, if you're in a smaller market, you work for a small company, maybe in a small town, or if you're in a big city that's got a large market with a lot of construction going on, there's no reason why you need to work for a company that you don't like. So, you know, I've told you guys this before, you got to get on LinkedIn. You got to get on LinkedIn. Probably most of you guys are on Facebook, that are older demographic, maybe 30 and older, but I know a lot of younger guys probably aren't on Facebook. It's okay, but LinkedIn is basically a professional version of Facebook. It's not associated with Facebook, but it works a lot of the similar ways. But you got to get on LinkedIn, put your resume on there. Find people that you know and companies that you know, and it'll help you network and things like that. And that'll help you look for work as well, and it'll help recruiters look for you. So one of the other things that you got to do, if you're looking for work and you found a market that you want to work in, whether it's your own where you're living, or it's in another state or another county or another country. One of the things that I did a couple years ago is I just went to Google Maps in the area that I was wanting to move to, and I just did a search for electrical contractors and called a few of them just randomly. Now I knew that there was one company that was hiring, that was interested in hiring me at the time, but I wanted to see what the market looked like, so I just cold called a few companies, asked them how business was, asked them if they were hiring, things like that. That was the first thing I did. I kind of vetted the market to see how the economy was, to see what I was getting into. I didn't want to move to an area that only had one job. If other companies were not hiring, then that's a sign that the economy or that market area is slow or depressed, or there's not a lot of work there. But like I say, I called probably 4 companies, and everybody was looking for work. Or I'm sorry, a lot of companies were looking for people at that time, and so I knew that the job opportunity was a good one for that sake. And I've mentioned this before. I don't. Long gone are the days where you work for a company for 20 or 30 years and then retire. That's gone. That's gone. That's not going to happen anymore. Things are changing so much that you, especially in the skilled trades, especially as an electrician when you're first starting out, you're going to work for a lot of companies, and it does not look bad on you. Because your resume has a bunch of different companies that you've worked for. That's experience. So if you have 3, 4, 5, 6 companies that you've worked for in construction, just learning the trade, or in the skilled trades, that's actually it's a good thing that that you have that. It's not bad. It doesn't look bad on you. So just think of it as a variety of experience that you've had, things that you've learned. So if you narrow it down, you look at an area and you find out where you want to work, and you kind of narrow it down to a company that you want to work for that has maybe an opportunity. You want to vet that company just like they would vet you. They're going to do a background check or whatever. You want to vet that company. You want to find out about the company as much as you can. Who the owner is. How many people work for that company, specifically what kind of work that company does. You want to find out how long that company's been in business. And you can use social media, and you can use LinkedIn, and just general Google search. You can use Google Maps, actually, because companies have their profile on Google Maps. You can look at reviews of customers of theirs through Google Maps. You can look at that stuff. Just vet the company. Find out who the owner is, what he's about. If it's a little bit bigger company, you want to kind of look at the profile of the company and their work philosophy, and kind of who their managers are and supervisors, and who the guys are in the field and things like that. You just got to dig a little bit into social media, but so you want to vet the company, because you should have an idea of who you are as a tradesman and what you have to offer, and your skills and your weaknesses, and what you have to give to a company. Things that you want to do and things that you don't want to do. You don't want to get pigeonholed into something that you don't like just for a job. So that's one of the first things, is to vet the company. One of the second things is when you first start talking to the company about the position, you want to ask questions. And actually, this goes for any interview that you might do as well. You want to ask questions about the company. One, because it lets the person that's interviewing you, whether it's the owner or their HR manager, It lets them know that you're interested in the company and that you're serious about it, and you're not just there, for a job. But also for your own sake, you want to ask questions. You want to be curious. Are you going to be digging ditches for 4 years? Is that what you want to do, or do you want to do a variety of work? Do you want to do something specific? Do you want to do commercial work and work with rigid conduit, or do you want to work outside or inside, or do commercial, or do you want to learn? Do you want to do residential work? You want to do PLC stuff, or you want to get into the marine area, or do you want to do a lot of low voltage, or how big is the company? Are you going to be able to work alongside someone? If you're a young apprentice, what's their journeyman look like? How many journeymen do they have? So you want to ask questions so that you can get an idea of what that company is like and how they operate, if you're going to be working there. And so actually this third thing is something that you actually should do before all this, and that is to know what you are worth. You have to know what you're worth on an hourly pay scale. Are you worth more than what you're getting paid? Were you working for a small shop that wasn't paying well? What is the market paying people where you want to work or where you are working? You want to know what your skills are. Are you always on time? Are you prompt? You give 100% while you're at work? You have to know your value in the market, so that you can know what your value is going to be for that company if you work for them. And kind of alongside that is, don't just go to a company looking for a job, because you'll just sit there and they're going to say, oh yeah, we're going to pay you this and this, and you're just going to get what they give you. You don't want that. You don't want to go looking for a job because you might not like it, and there might be another company down the road that's got a better position for you. And like I mentioned earlier, work is good right now. Like I say, maybe not in the specific market that you are in, but there's a lot of work out there. Just the last video I mentioned right here in the valley, there's 3 or 4 companies that I know right now, 3 journeymen and an apprentice could walk into jobs right now. And this isn't even the hottest market in the country. It's not the hottest real estate market. There's a lot of people moving here, but there's 10 or 15 other counties or markets around the country that are hotter than this area where we're at. And even in larger metropolitan areas, there is work there. So don't just go looking for a job where you're gonna get something that you don't want to do or that you don't like doing. You want to go in with the attitude that you're giving that company an opportunity to hire you, because you have skills and assets to contribute to that company. Now, of course, I'm not saying that everybody has things that they need to work on and skills that they got to improve on, and you should recognize those things for yourself, but you also have strengths and assets. So if at all possible, this kind of goes along with vetting the company, is you want to try to meet any of the employees that you can, either through LinkedIn or social media in general, or ask if you can go out to a job and meet the guys, or if you can hang out at one of the shop meetings and just kind of see how the shop meetings, how the camaraderie is, and how everybody interacts with each other. So try to meet any of the employees if you can, and just kind of talk to them and get a feeling for how they like the company. I mean, you don't have to ask them specific questions like that, but just how they interact with each other at the company. And so the 6th thing that we're going to talk about is when you sit down for your interview with the owner, you got to ask tough questions, because he's going to ask you tough questions. And one of the questions that you are going to want to ask is what his strengths and weaknesses are, the things that he's good at and then the things that he's not good at. And the reason why it's tough is because everybody has that and they don't want to admit it. And it's not so much to embarrass anybody or put them on the spot. But if he's honest, he'll give you some idea of the things that, you know, he might not say, well, I'm not good at this, but he might say, well, we're looking to fill a position to do this. You know, we need an experienced apprentice to help in this area because we don't have that in the company. You know, we're looking for someone that has good management skills. And so everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Just because someone owns a business or is a manager doesn't mean that they don't have weaknesses. Now, of course, you know, everybody likes bragging about what their strengths are, but you want to get an idea of the owner's demeanor, and if he thinks he knows everything, and if he thinks that he is the only person that has the answers, is what you kind of want to figure out, because he won't always have the answers. Not just the owner, but it could be manager or whoever you're talking to. Yeah, so just, you know, he might say, yeah, I have some things that I'm working on, like I always take professional classes, or I'm working on management, or you know, like I say, it's not so much to put him on the spot, but it's just so that you understand where his view is of how he runs the company. You know, if he feels offended by that question, or he thinks that he says or indicates that he doesn't have any weaknesses, is what happens is when you work for someone like that, they tend not to trust younger people or newer people or just their people as a whole, because they, like I say, because they think they know everything. Instead of having a teamwork mindset, well, everybody's a team, you know, this person has this strength, and, you know, these guys have this strength, or this crew is strong at this, maybe they're not so good at this, you know, I'm not good at dealing with this, but this guy is. That type of teamwork mentality or philosophy within a company just won't be there. And it's only through recognition of one's own weakness and things that one has to work on that a healthy work environment can exist. And so, you know, like I say, I've worked it's mostly in smaller companies. I worked for a lot of smaller companies where the issue of strengths and weaknesses doesn't come up. It really doesn't come up a lot. I mean, it's personal reflection, really, is something that you have to do. But it just comes out in ways that doesn't help other people, either peers or someone working under somebody else, if there's no recognition of what everybody's strengths and weaknesses are, especially your own or their own. So I don't know if that was clear, but it is interesting because it's something that I noticed pretty recently with a guy that I was working for who just had no concept of what his own weaknesses were, and how it affected the company and how it affected his customers. So his employees and customers and the relationship there. It wasn't healthy. It could have been a lot better. So anyway, ask the owner what his greatest weakness is. You know, you gotta put some tact into it, though. Let's see. And the last thing is, one of the last things is ask the owner what his current jobs are, the jobs that they're doing specifically right now, who their customers are, what the job profiles are, what they're working on, the projects that they have on the books right now that are scheduled to be done, and also like what kind of mix of work they generally do. You know, what percentage of, depending on the company, service versus residential versus commercial versus industrial versus PLC, whatever, low voltage, whatever that company does, you want to know what they specifically do and how much of each type of work that they do, what their customer looks like. So the last job that I had, I come from a service background, and I had asked about what kind of work they did, and then service came up, and the owner told me that they did about 60% service work. So I was like, that's pretty good, it's a good deal. That sounds fair. And I was thinking I was going to fit in really well there. So come to find out that his perception of service, and this is because I didn't ask more questions about it, his perception of service was different than mine. So my background in service at the time, or previous to that, was I was doing commercial service for like national retail, big box, corporate customers, clients, like people that, companies, just brand name companies, restaurants, and this type of thing. And his definition of service was residential calls. GFI was out in someone's kitchen or replacing a ceiling fan. Well, that's not service to me. That's just straight residential work. It's not service. So the lesson learned there for me was I should have asked more about what service was, but I just assumed that we were talking about the same thing. So anyway, for me, that was a lesson learned that I'm just passing on to you guys, is find out what the current jobs are and ask questions about those specific jobs and the type of work that they do. So wanted to say thank you for watching the video today. Hope it was helpful for you. I have a lot of contact information and other social media sites you can check out. So my email is massiveelectric2014@gmail.com. There's an Instagram account at massive_electric. There's a Twitter account you can contact me through. It's at massiveelectric. I've got a Patreon, which I'm going to be adding a few videos to, specifically along the lines of training for like troubleshooting thoughts and things like that. I have a lot more videos I want to add to that, and that can be done through the Patreon. I've got a few consulting accounts started through Clarity, Upwork, and Moonlighting, which you can find. And I also have, when we start a blog on Medium and Blogger, I think, for now. So I've got an account started for those, and I'll have some thoughts there. I am going to be doing some freelance copywriting. So for any business-to-business web services, particularly in the electrical industry, electrical publications, websites, manufacturers, contractors, wholesalers, retailers. I will be doing some copywriting, and I'll have ways to make myself available for that. So you can contact me through my email if you are interested in that. And so hope this video was helpful, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.